Welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market Garden Life, where today we're talking about this lovely specimen here, Athyrium niponicum variety Pictum, or commonly known as Japanese Painted Fern. Athyrium? I didn't even know him. But anyway, it's in the Athyriaceae family, which means the lady ferns and allies, which sounds like, with today's political discourse, sounds like a strange political term, but what it basically refers to, without going into too fine of detail, is it refers to that grouping and other plants like it. Ferns are an interesting spore-bearing plant that isn't like a lot of the garden plants that we cover on this channel. But you knew we were eventually going to get to the two ferns. The two ferns in the entire world that I actually like. Because I'm not a big fan of ferns in general. Mostly because of their shady, moist habit, which we just don't have here. Anyway, not in the test gardens anyway. But I mean, this one stuck with me for years, and it's in a pot because it needs a little help, and we're doing that. But anyway, Athyriaceae, thank you, kitten. That's Poke in the background. She's being a ham because I'm talking. Anyway, Athyriaceae comes from the word, the A in it means without, in this case, and thyrios means shield. Okay? And niponicum means relating to Japan, which tells you where it's from. It's from Japan. But then again, the common name Japanese Painted Fern should have theoretically been a giveaway. Now, what that means without the shield, it means it has inconspicuous induism. Indusium. I'm sorry, I just botched that. But anyway, and that is the sorus's cover. Basically, it's the cover over the spores on the underside of the leaf. It doesn't really have a cover on the little spore cases, or a minimal one at best, and so that's why it's called that. Now, it's hardy in USDA zones 5 through 8, but some sources say 4 through 9. It's grown here in 8A, so that's good enough for me. It prefers a soil pH of 5.5 to 7.0 and is a deciduous perennial, meaning that when it gets cold, it'll die back to the ground and you'll think your plant has died. But it hasn't, because it has a secret plan. Now, some ferns actually hold up year-round, and the other fern that I like the most is one of them, and we will cover it later. I have to get a specimen. I've been lazy. But anyway, its exposure is partial to full shade. Now, where I had this plant, and even yours truly can make some oopsies in the garden, and has made quite a few, but I did not meet one of its major critical needs, and so it wasn't happy, but it was making do. Now, I'm going to meet all of its critical needs. It's going to be fabulous. But anyway, partial to full shade. Well, it was getting partial, which was fine, which is why it's still here. But it wasn't getting the other thing. Now, I mentioned its soil pH is 5.5 to 7.0, right? Well, it likes having moist soil, which is the one thing I wasn't getting, which so it was growing, but kind of barely. Its height can be 8 inches to 10 inches, though some sources say it may be up to 18 inches tall. I'd love to see that. Giant Japanese painted ferns taking over your garden. I would love to see that. I really would. Its width can be 1 to 2 feet, which, again, I would love to see that. This specimen clearly isn't doing it, but it's in a recovery pot, so I rescued 2 other plants out of that same bed as well. We'll see how those ones turn out, even though they look like heck and they need some time. This needs some time too. Anyway, does it have any other names? None that I know of. I mean, it's always Japanese Painted Fern, and then whatever variety they've come up with. This is just a basic one, Pictum. It's not special in that regard. It's special in that it is a fern, and it can tolerate a lot of crap. And it has my respect for that point. Now, it doesn't really have insect issues, which is great. Rabbits are not going to eat this. They don't seem to like it very much, which is good. The foliage color is best in spring. Here we are. We're in March. Yeah, baby. But it will slowly turn more green as summer progresses. Now, that doesn't mean these leaves will turn totally green. It's just that their color will fade. Much like when I did the video with the Laura petalum, the color will eventually fade. Not fully, but enough that it's like, oh, is it looking bad? Well, no, that's just normal. It's not stress. You have to look. If it's stressing, you're going to see the leaves turn really funny colors, which is typically called flagging. They'll turn yellowish green to indicate nutrient deficiency or illness. This one will just sort of turn a medium green, partially. Additionally, and I mentioned this before, do not allow the soil to completely dry out, which was the problem where it was. The soil would intermittently dry out and it might go dormant in the dead of summer. Not good if you have a display. Not good at all. Now, I did do some research and found out that this plant is non-toxic to pets, and there's a blooper clip of mischief just rolling up and eating an entire frond. And I'm going to have to post that at some point, especially me going, no! Y'all will get a laugh out of that, I'm sure. But additionally, the very young fronds are fully edible to people. So, foliage color, it's a fern, it's edible, it's pet safe. What's not to like? Who could dislike this plant? Now, I mean, yeah, some people like more dynamic plants that flower or blah, 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 but ferns are easy. And when you think about it, spore-bearing plants are an interesting evolutionary step in the evolution of plants themselves. They predated a lot of stuff, and that's fascinating. But when we get to the other fern, the one that can survive having beers thrown in it and junk thrown at it and college students, oh boy, that's going to be an episode. But anyway, that's all I have for you on Japanese painted ferns and my one specimen, which is on the mend. So if you have any thoughts on Japanese painted ferns, or you just have a fern you like and you want to suggest I cover it, put it in the comments section. I mean, I'll give it a shot if it's even possible in my region. Some things just aren't. I mean, we're dry and sandy, enough said. But, as always, hit the like and subscribe. It helps the channel. The Forge blog is rolling along. There'll be a link to it in the description for this episode. And as always, folks, keep them growing.